You think you know your neighbors until one night proves you don't. It started as another quiet evening in Maple Grove Estates until flashing red and blue lights tore through the neighborhood. My heart froze when I realized those sirens weren't random. They were chasing my car. Karen, the HOA president, had spent months trying to break me with rules and fines. But this was her breaking point. Her son had stolen my Dodge Challenger, and what happened next was broadcast across the city. Live drop. Your location and comment. Let's see how far this story reaches around the world. When I first moved into Maple Grove Estates, it looked like the perfect neighborhood. Fresh lawns, spotless sidewalks, and friendly faces who waved from their porches. Had saved for years to buy my home. 3 bedrooms, a tidy yard, and parked in the driveway my pride and joy, a red Dodge Challenger. The HOA brochure promised order and pride. What it didn't mention was the woman who practically ran the place, Karen Porter. Her house looked like a magazine cover. White fence, manicured shrubs, and flowers arranged with military precision. She didn't take a walk without that clipboard in her hand. From the day I arrived, I could feel her eyes on me, inspecting my lawn height, my trash bins, even the shine on my car. 2 weeks after moving in, I received my first violation notice. The vehicle must be stored inside the garage overnight. My garage was full of tools and boxes, and plenty of neighbors parked outside. But Karen's tone made it clear that her rules weren't suggestions. I ignored it until the next one came. Grass too long. Then, porch light not HOA compliant. Then, car paint excessively reflective. I laughed it off at first, but something about her persistence felt personal. Now, her son, Tyler, was 19, loud, reckless, and arrogant. He'd speed through the cul-de-sac at night, stereo shaking the street. Sometimes he'd stop when I was washing my Challenger. "Nice car," he said once, smirking, running his fingers across the hood. "Bet this thing roars." I told him to back off. He laughed and walked away, and when I looked up, Karen was standing on her porch, pretending to water plants but glaring at me. That was the first time I realized she didn't just dislike me, she envied me. Weeks passed, and the fines kept coming. Karen accused me of disrupting community harmony, attended an HOA meeting to defend myself. But every board member there was in her pocket the moment I mentioned her son's noise at night. She cut me off. "We're not here to make baseless claims," she said with a cold smile. That's when I knew she wasn't enforcing rules. She was going to war. Over the next month, things spiraled out of control. Karen filed nuisance reports against me, all false. Trash cans left out too long, unsightly yard tools, and aggressive posture toward HOA officers. Every accusation came with a fine. My mailbox turned into a battlefield. Then came the photographs, printed from her phone and slipped under my door. Pictures of my car taken at night, from angles that made my stomach twist. In one of them, I could clearly see Tyler's shadow. Started parking the Challenger inside the garage, rearranging everything to make room. But that didn't stop them. One night around midnight, I heard movement outside, a faint scrape of metal. When I peeked through the blinds, I saw nothing. The next morning, there was a deep key mark across the side of my car. I reported it to the HOA. Karen's response was short. "Maybe you shouldn't flaunt expensive cars in a modest neighborhood, borehood." That's when I installed security cameras, discreet and motion-activated, covering the driveway and street. 3 nights later, the footage made my blood run cold. Tyler, creeping around my garage at 2 a.m., flashlight in hand, trying the door handle. When the light turned on, he bolted. I took the footage. Straight to Karen. She didn't even deny it. "My son was looking for our lost cat," she said, calmly. When I pointed out there was no cat in the video, she smirked. "Maybe if you didn't provoke him, he wouldn't feel unsafe near your property." It was clear now they were trying to bait me. The HOA wasn't about community anymore. It was about control, and I was their target. 2 weeks later, everything exploded. It was a quiet Saturday morning. I was inside, cleaning, when I heard my Challenger's engine roar. My heart stopped. I ran outside. The driveway was empty. Tire marks scorched across the pavement. The car was gone. Neighbors stood outside, confused. "Did you sell it?" someone asked. I couldn't answer. I pulled up my camera feed. There he was, Tyler, breaking into my garage, smiling into the camera, starting the car and tearing off. I called the police. They were already getting reports. My car had been spotted racing down the highway at over 120 miles per hour. Patrol cars were in pursuit. Within minutes, the chase was live on television. The entire community gathered in front of their screens. I stood there in disbelief as I watched my own car, weaving between traffic, Tyler behind the wheel, laughing and shouting out the window. Then it happened. He lost control. The Challenger spun out, hit the guardrail, and crumpled into twisted metal. Sirens surrounded the wreck. The police pulled him out, bruised, handcuffed, cuffed, and screaming. The next morning, the neighborhood was silent. Karen's perfect lawn sat untouched. Her blinds stayed closed. The HOA page, usually full of her announcements, was blank. Didn't feel triumph? My car was destroyed. My peace was on. Then came the letter from the HOA, signed by Karen. It claimed I was partially responsible for the incident, citing inadequate garage security and failure to report ongoing conflict with a known at-risk youth. Attached was a fine for $2,500 for community disturbance. That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. I contacted my attorney, filed a police report, and began investigating. It didn't take long to uncover the truth. Karen had been embezzling HOA funds for years, redirecting maintenance budgets to pay for her home renovations. I gathered the records, emails, and transaction receipts. At the next HOA meeting, a packed room with neighbors and even reporters, I stood up and laid everything out. The evidence was undeniable. Karen tried to interrupt, shouting and calling me a liar. But the documents spoke for themselves. The board voted her out on the spot. The state's housing department opened a fraud investigation. Karen faced criminal charges for embezzlement and misuse of community funds. For the first time in months, the neighborhood breathed freely. The woman who had controlled everyone was gone. In the weeks that followed, Maple Grove Estates changed. The new HOA board issued a formal apology to every homeowner Karen had fined unfairly. They reimbursed what they could and rewrote the bylaws to prevent anyone from abusing power again. Karen sold her home quietly and moved away before her trial. Her son, Tyler, was convicted of grand theft auto and reckless endangerment. The footage from my security camera became part of the case. Insurance covered most of the damages to my car. Rebuilt the Challenger from scratch. New body, new paint, same fire red finish. It became a symbol, not just of what I lost, but of what I fought for. Sometimes I drive past Karen's old house. The new owners are kind, respectful people who keep to themselves. The yard isn't as perfect as hers was, but the street feels lighter somehow, like the tension finally lifted. The experience changed me. I learned that sometimes the enemy isn't a stranger. It's the person pretending to protect the neighborhood. Learned that standing up for yourself can be messy, painful, and costly, but in the end, truth has its own way of restoring balance. The HOA still holds meetings, but this time they're open, fair, and transparent. People talk, laugh, disagree, and actually listen to each other. For once, it feels like a community, not a dictatorship. As for me, I still park my car in the driveway. It shines under the morning sun, a reminder of everything that happened, of the control I took back. I lost a car, but I regained something much bigger: peace. And every time I start that engine, I remember the night it was stolen and the day justice finally caught up with Karen and her son.